Hi guys, how are you all doing? Welcome back to the Stock Zone channel. It's your girl Sobe here. Today I'll talk about something. If you are a realtor, an investor, you are into real estate in one way or the other, come, this gist is for you, okay? So this is something that I feel that I needed to talk about because I've been in this I've been a realtor for over 5 years now, and most times the things like that baffles me a lot are the ignorance most people display. Okay, when I mean ignorance, when it comes to real estate, there are lots of things you have to know if you want to succeed in that aspect, because it's not something that you just use 10,000 to do. It's something that is from 100k up, so it's something that you should um be aware be more aware of. Okay, so most times I see that people they're not really aware of it. They don't really understand the concept of real estate. Okay, so most times they just want to buy a property, but they don't understand, like, how to go about with it or stuff like that. And most times they're always ignorant. Okay, when I mean ignorant, let me share a story. Okay, this is just one out of millions that happened to me. Okay, so I was talking to a prospect, and he was like, he wanted to buy a property. So I told him that, okay, no problem, what is your budget? So he told me his budget was, I think, 600,000, so around that range, I can't remember. So he told me his budget was 600,000, 700 ish. So I told him, okay, no problem. So I showed him some few properties that I was marketing as of that time. So I was so surprised to his response, because the only thing he told me was that all of these places are bush. Okay, so I was trying to explain to him that, oh look, no, they're not bush, that look at the places that are around it, that this place is going to develop in time or stuff like that. But a grown man, you cannot talk to him in some certain way, because they'll think that you are trying to project them what they should do. So you say within your power and you leave. Okay, so that same client of mine came back to me. I marketed that same property, but he didn't know it was that same property. Okay, this was about, I think, 3 years after. So I marketed that same property, and now it's selling for 5 million. Okay, so when I marketed the property, he chatted me up and he was like, wow, this property is a nice place. Then I told him that this was the same property that I marketed to him 3 years ago that was selling for 500,000. He was marveled. He was shocked. He was like, what do you mean? Like, I was saying that, yeah, this is it. So this kind of things have happened to a lot of people. Like I said before, this is one out of 1 million stories that happened to. So even those people that missed out on Lekki, I have a friend that told me that she was about to buy that property, but she just had this she wasn't sure enough because it was all bushy and stuff like that, so she missed out on that opportunity as well. Okay, so I just wanted to make this video, like, to equip you with this insight. Okay, this is what most investors have that people that are aspiring to be investors don't have. Okay, so if you want to be an investor when it comes to real estate and you want to make money, you don't want to make a lot of mistakes, then I think you should stick to this video. Okay, so today I'm going to be giving you 3 things you have to look out for before you buy your first or your next property, so you cannot be ignorant, so you cannot be left out, so you cannot be scammed, so you cannot miss out. You understand all of those things? So I'm going to be giving you 3 things. Okay, so when you check all of these 3 things when you want to buy your first or your next property, if they're not aligning together, then I can say don't buy it. Okay, but if they're aligning, then I can say go ahead. So yeah, so the first thing you have to do if you want to buy your first or your next property, the first thing you have to do, you have to check the landmarks. Okay, your realtor shows you a particular property, the first thing you have to ask that realtor, like, what are the landmarks around there? Okay, let me explain what landmarks is all about. Okay, landmarks is like the infrastructures. Landmarks is like the buildings, the things that are going on around there. Like, it can be schools, hospitals, airport, restaurants, all of those things that can bring people into that place. You understand? The more people are coming into that place, the more development is coming into that place, and the more development are coming, the more your ROI is also coming. Okay, so this is the first thing you ask your realtor. If you ask for the landmarks, and you find out that there's no reasonable landmarks around that particular property, then I'm going to advise that you should not go ahead to make that payment or acquire that investment. Okay, it must not always be so close to the landmark, but at least it can give you like 2 minutes drive, 2 minutes, 3 minutes drive, stuff like that. It can be 2 minutes away from the airport, 2 minutes away from the university, 2 minutes away from the general hospital. Okay, so you just have to check these things if you want to buy your first or your next property. So the next thing is you have to check the road accessibility. Okay, most times that is why I always preach that you go for an inspection. Inspection is really good. Inspection is not only just to go and see the land where your land is. Inspection, that word inspection, is to inspect if it's something that you should buy or not. It is not something that you should just go and know where your land is, because most times when you hear I want to go for inspection, the only thing they have in the back of their mind is just to know where the land is. Okay, so that tomorrow they can just, if they want to start in, they can just go. But I want you to be intentional when you are going for inspections. Like, the first thing you have to check first is the landmarks. Okay, and the next thing is the road accessibility. If it's not accessible, it's not something that you should invest in, because I don't see any reasonable person buying a property that is not accessible, that's something that you cannot use your car to pass through, something that you have to park in some certain area before you can now park in a certain area, then use your leg to reach the property. It's not something that you should go. It's not something that I'm going to advise anybody to go for. So if you want to buy a property, you have to make sure that it is very accessible. When I mean accessible, I don't really mean it should be all like you should have a tiled road. It must not have a tiled road. Like, depends on your budget. It must not have a tiled road. Okay, but at least let the road be sizable. Let it something that at least let it be leveled. Let the topography be okay. This is the things you have to shake. If it's not accessible, if it's something that you cannot drive through with your car, then it's not accessible. But if it's something that you can drive through with your car, then it's accessible. It must not always be perfect. Okay, so but if it's accessible, then it's good. Yeah, so the next one you also have to look out for before you buy your next or your first property is you have to check the document titles. Okay, this is so that you will not be scammed, because I've heard a lot of cases where people will chat me up and tell me that I bought a particular property from so and I've not heard from the person. Like, after that, then I will ask the person, okay, do you have any documents? What, like, they will just be so dumbfounded. Like, they'll just be like, you know that case where somebody has just been scammed, you know how they look, the expression in their face. That is always the case. Okay, so you have to ensure to know documents that are attached to that particular property, so that you will be in the right track. You have to also check for the surveys. You also have to make sure that if you're working with a real estate company, make sure that they are reputable. If you're also working with a realtor, do the same as well, to enable your safety. Let your money not waste, because I don't know of anybody that would buy a property and want it to just go like that. Okay, so you have to shake these three things. So this video, I want you to listen to it and understand this. So if you are aspiring to buy your first or your next property, these are the 3 boxes you have to click, and once you have ticked these 3 boxes and it's going well for you, then please purchase that property. Don't be scared. So far you have already checked the landmark, check the road accessibility, check the title. My dear, go for it. That property is a good property. A property must not always look so appealing all the time. Sometimes it can be, most times it's always a bush. Like, the place you are living right now was once a bush before it developed. Like, if you can meet people that have like made that place years back, they can testify to this. Okay, but it mustn't always stay a bush. And when you know something that will not always stay a bush is when you look at the landmarks, how accessible it is, the topography, all of those good stuff. Okay, so these are the things you have to look out for when you want to buy your first or your next properties. And I stated this thing out because most times investors don't have a mind of their own. This is when you hear things like, oh, I regret not buying this property. Oh, if I had known. Oh God, I wish I can just see someone that can sell cheaper. This, like, if you don't really check all of these things, you might end up saying all of these things, like having this kind of regret. Okay, but once you check all of these things and they are good to you, then, and you have the money and you make the payments, you should purchase that investment. Trust me, this is something that you're going to really thank me for later. Okay, so I always like to preach about real estate, and one thing an investor have to have is insight. with all of these things I said, this is what I mean by having insight when it comes to real estate. Like, you knowing what is going to be good and what is going to be bad. These are the ways to have insight in real estate. If you want to have insight in real estate, if you want to have the mind of an investor, these are the ways to do it. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you learned something from this short video, and I hope that you're going to start applying it. Okay, one thing I'm praying for everybody that is listening to me right now, for all my subscribers, if you're not subscribed, subscribe right now. One thing I'm praying for you guys is that you guys are going to buy more and more properties. If you have not bought your first property yet, trust me, I pray that you're going to buy it before the end of this year. And if you are looking forward to buying your next property, I pray that God is also going to give you the money to do so as well. And I wish you guys good luck. I don't pray that you guys fall into the hands of scammers or buy a property that is not really, good for business, stuff like that. We're all looking for returns whenever we buy properties, and there's nothing that used to sweet me more than me just chatting my clients and telling them that property you bought at 500k is not 10 million. Like, it's so satisfying to me. It's like me being a realtor. This is one of my priorities. Okay, so yeah, thank you very much for joining me, and I really appreciate that. Okay, I'll see you in my next one.